Maseches Bava Kama, Baruch Hashem. After a long Pesach, pre-Pesach, post-Pesach break, Baruch Hashem, we're back to life. We were in life also in Pesach, and also now is the renewed life, Cherus of the Torah. Let's break free. Tzadi Bava Amud Beis in Bava Kama. Yeah, Tzadi Bava Amud Beis. We are in Zeha Klal. These are the two dots. The first two dots in the middle of the narrow lines at the top of the page. Zeha Klal. This Shiur L'Ilui Nishmas of Imoiri Menachem ben Akiva. Ze le Nishmas Sorbas Moshe. Weiter. Zeha Klal Kol Gazlon Mishalmik Tishas Gzela. Zeha Klal. We saw in the Mishnah, the end of the Mishnah that spoke about Gazlan being koine b'shinui. The end of the Mishnah said, this is the rule. Zeha Klal, this is the rule. Kol Gazlonim Mishalmik Tishas Gzela. All Gazlonim pay like the time of the Gzela, which means if somebody stole something, there was a Kinyan Gzela, and now the item is worth more or less, he has to pay. He keeps the item that was changed. He was koine b'shinui, he keeps it to himself, and what he has to pay is the original amount of money. He pays that, let's say in cash, he pays that what he originally stole. But the question is, la tuye mai. The Gemara has a question, the word zeha klal, la tuye mai. In other words, when you say this is the rule, that comes to add something. The Mishnah doesn't summarize something in the end of the Mishnah. The Mishnah basically says, zeha klal, this is the rule coming to add another piece of information which we didn't know before. And the question is, la tuye mai. What does it come to include? What does it come to add to what we already know? Answers the Gemara, la tuye hodo amar bilo. It comes to add to the Mishnah something that Rabbi Lo said. What did Rabbi Lo say? Gonav taleh v'nasa ayil. The person stole a taleh, a kid, yeah, a little goat, v'nasa ayil. He became a ram, a little sheep actually, became a ram, and that is definitely not reversible. Once you're adult, you can't become a child again, even if you want to. Once you're an ayil, you can't go back to being a taleh. Egel v'nasa show. He stole a calf, and that became a bull, became an ox. Nasa shinu beyodoi. It became shinui. It became shinui. That is a significant, clear shinui that's irreversible. V'knoi, and he now acquired it. Okay, that I already knew. What's the chiddush? Tovach u'mochar. That's the chiddush. Here comes the whopping chiddush. Tovach u'mochar. If that person, the ganav, now that the little kid that he originally stole is now an adult ram, ayil, now he was teveach. Now he either shechted it or he sold it, which otherwise would be mechayevim to pay extra 3, 4 altogether. He doesn't have to pay anything. It's considered as if he shechted or sold his own thing, because at that point of no return, at the ayil's second birthday, made him a cake, and they celebrated his second birthday, which halachically means is now an ayil. He's not a taleh anymore. He's not a youngster. He's an old guy. Now he's considered to be a different kind of being, and from that point onwards, it does not belong to the original owner. He owes him money. Since he did not shecht an animal belonging to the owner, he shechted his own animal. He doesn't have to pay the extra 3, making it up to 4. Okay. We are in Tzadi Vav Amud Beis in Masechta Bava Kama. Tzadi Vav Amud Beis, and we are basically 2 lines before the wide lines. Yeah, we are about to finish the narrow lines. The top of the page. Sorry about that. Yes. I'm listening. Later. Now comes a very interesting story, and that's where I got stuck before we went on our holiday. This is a very strange story. It's not difficult. It's just a very new concept which we're going to meet now, something which we never met before. And I want to give you a little introduction that a guy met me outside shul one evening, and he said that he overheard the shiur, and he says, how comes in halacha a person steals and there's no, I think you also asked the question, there's nothing to deter him, there are no deterrents from stealing, because why? You're supposed to pay kefil. Well, today, we don't even dad in the knossos, we don't even have to pay kefil, because today we don't have the real Beth Din which we had in the past. The Gemara is going to deal with that. That's going to be one thing the Gemara is going to deal with. Ahu Gavra. There was a man, the Gozal Padna, the Toiri, the Chavri. He stole a pair, a tzemed boko, a pair of oxen, two oxen together. They work together in the field as a havarutha. They work together, chavrusa, two bulls, and he stole it mechavre from his friend Ozal. He went. What did he do? Well, he used them. Not a stupid guy. Korav behu karva. He actually plowed with it in the field. The karva, the farrow. He made farrows in the field. Zara behu zara. He planted and he sowed the seeds. He used them in the field. They were his combined. And then at the end, after using them, he brought them back, took them back and brought them back to the original owner. So Meikar Din, what does he have to pay? Nothing, assuming they didn't get significantly older, right? Or more adult or older or less usable. They're more or less the same as they were before, right? So now he gives them back. He used it. Basically, he borrowed without permission. And now he brought them back, and he thinks now life is good, and that's it. Also, look at Rav Nachman. So now they came to Rav Nachman, not from Uman. Rav Nachman was a Dayan. Rav Nachman was a Dayan, a friend of Shmuel, and they came to Rav Nachman, the Din Torah. I assume the one who was the victim of the theft wanted justice to be done. It was stolen from me, comes back to me, and that's it. Nothing happened. Omar Lehu. So he told them, Zilu Shumu Shavcha de Ashbach. That's a very, very new idea. He said, go and Sham, you have to now assess, you have to now figure out how much was the Shevach, was the profit that he made from these bulls. We've never seen that before. In other words, the profit that he made from these bulls, at least in the Havamina, he has to pay that in full. Let's say because of your Shvarim, now you have a nicer field. Before the field was worth, I don't know, $500,000. Now it's worth, I don't know, $750,000. You have to pay $250,000. You have to pay what you gained. But that's a chiddush because we never met that before. Omar le Rove is now surprised by this psak, and he says, "Toiri ashbach, ara loy ashbach." That's very shver. The lashon of Rove. Rove is, if he's saying Rove, the bulls are better, but the land is not better. Now, it doesn't mean that, because here it's not true. The land is better. What Rava means to say is what I was saying before. We only found so far in Allah, we only met the concept of the shvarim being better or not, right? If the short changed, then you have to deal with that. But ara loy ashbach, in other words, the fact that his land is better, that never made a difference, right? We've been learning these sugis for a long time. We never saw that the ripple effect, what I gained from the gzela, the gneva, makes a difference. And you're Rav Nachman, you're saying something new that was never the story. Omar, Rav Nachman now defends his own psak. Did I say that he has to be sham, he has to assess and pay back the whole thing? No. He only has to pay half, which means, in my case, let's say the field is now $250,000 better. I didn't say he should pay the entire quarter, only I would say an eighth of the million, half of the quarter, which is an eighth. I only said that he has to pay half of what he gained as a result of the theft. Why only half? I think it's a Rashba that I saw yesterday. I saw a few Meforshim yesterday. I'm not sure who says what, either Rashba or Meiri. They say because really, when you have the land and you have the Shvarim are not the only cause why your land is better. It's only the land itself, the quality of the land, right? And the work and other things. The Shvarim are only half the job. So what he gained from stealing the oxen is half of the final profit. It's that, percentage in the investment. But in any event, he's like, Rav Nachman says, no, I didn't say that he has to pay everything, only half. Or Rava is still unhappy, and he says, so what? Soif, at the end of the day, Gzeilahu. All he did was goizel, he stole the kahad rabbeinu. And what? He gave it back as it is. The Tanan, it says in the Mishnah, which means we learned in the Mishnah, a gazlan has to pay like the time of the gzela, which either means that he keeps the oxen if they're old, if they're old. And by the way, I'm thinking now about the Lashon Rava before, maybe the oxen got older, maybe, and became bigger and older in a way that's significant, and that's why he's supposed to keep them and give back the original amount in money. That could be, but it does make a difference. The main time of Rava and Rav Nachman is that me'ikar adin, what we've seen so far is you never pay for the profit that was gained as a result of the Gneva. We only focus on Gneva itself. You pay it as it is now, or do you pay it as it was at the beginning? Shinui, no Shinui. But since when do you have a concept of paying from what I gained from the Gneva? Omerle, comes Rav Nachman with a strong statement. Lo yaminalach, didn't I tell you, says Rav Nachman to Rove, ki ativna bedina, when I sit and when I'm in Beth Din, I know what I'm doing. Don't question me. Lo temel imidi, don't tell me anything. In other words, I know what I'm doing. Rav Nachman was a professional top dayan. He's a friend of Shmuel, as he's going to mention soon. And Shmuel was the name of the game, the only game in town when it comes to Dayanus. Doma Huna, and he's continuing the statement, says Huna, Chavrin Iloi. I'm not sure how to read this, and I saw the before, so it's not so clear. Huna is saying, Chavrin Iloi, our superior friend, Ano v'Shvur Malka, I, and Shvur Malka was the name of the king, but Shvur Malka was also a nickname for Shmuel. So he's saying, me and Shvur Malka, Achi Bedina. Shvur Malka, which is like the king. Like you want to mention somebody famous and big celeb, and he says, so Shmuel, who's the top dayan, is like Shvur Malka. He's like the top king when it comes to Dayanim. And Achihu Bedina, he's my brother when it comes to Din. When it comes to Din and Momedes, we know what we're doing. We're the top team. We are the A team. We know what we're doing. Tetnan. Yeah. Hi, Inash. So what's he doing? Hi, Inash, that man, Gazlana Atikahu, he's an old timer. He's a Gazlan Otik. He's an old Gazlan, which means he's already used to doing it time and again. Shuv. This guy is a repeating criminal, and therefore, but Ina the Iknese, we decided we want to cancel him. That's a chiddush. Basically, Rav Nachman says, you're right, Rava. When you go by the book, inside the little square of the halacha, which is a very good square, is what? You don't have to cancel him. We never found such a concept of canceling him for what he gained from the Gneva. However, we know the guy, as they say, he's known to the police. He's one of these people, goes to the police station, everybody knows him, and everybody pats him in the back. He's known to the authorities because he abuses the halacha that really does not deter Ganovim, right? Mimela, and this guy, by the way, adds the Rosh, if I'm not mistaken. This guy is the opposite case of Takonos Shovim. I hope you didn't get amnesia because of the matzahs. I hope the matzahs did not cause you amnesia, only stomach issues maybe. You do remember Takonos Shovim. We're being even nice to the Ganovim. We want to do tshuva, right? And we make it easier for them. That is only a Ganav says, I think the Rosh, that they really wants to do tshuva. But a Ganav like this guy who's stealing again and again and shows no remorse, he has no thoughts of tshuva as far as we know. With him, we're being very hard. You like it? The right-wing attitude. And we say that not only has to pay the original amount, the bull, to give it back, he also has to pay half, at least, of the profit that he made from the Gzela. And I opened a book called Shulchan Aruch. Have you ever heard of this book? A Sefer Shulchan Aruch. Says the Shulchan Aruch, that's halacha. If Beth Din sees that a Ganav steals and he abuses the halacha's flexibility or leniency, Mimela, we make him pay not only for the actual Gneva, also for the extra. This is a big, for extra from what he gained from the Gneva. This is a big chiddush because nowadays there are no knossos, right? There are no knossos nowadays in Bavel or in Eretz Yisrael of today. You don't pay kefel, you don't pay all these things, Motzi Shemra and all these knossos. However, there is also the Gemara in Sanhedrin, which is also halacha. The Gemara in Sanhedrin says that Beth Din of any generation can decide their own rules. Yeah, when they feel that something requires correction, yeah, we feel there's a social issue here, and Beth Din has to be tough on certain people in certain circumstances. They have every right in the world to be tough on the people and even be malka, even give malchus, even if it's not the malchus prescribed by the Torah. They can even kill. They could even kill. That's a big chiddush. But I think in the times of the Rishonim, I don't know if they actually did, but they said there was a matzav where it was shaykh to even execute a person. The other cases, which I won't say now, and the Shiur said maybe later, Beth Din can be very tough if they, in the great knowledge and great mind, if they think that a hard hand is required, they have the right to use it. Thank you. Welcome. And we are now in the Mishnah. Tzadi Vav. Are we in Tzadi Vav? I can't see the daf myself. Tzadi Vav Amud Beis, Bava Kama. New Mishnah. Just in time for the new Mishnah. Okay. Weiter. Exactly.
Is or isn't? No.
It's not. A good point. Peretz is asking or commenting, why isn't this considered adding to Allah? It's not. Because there is a pasuk, I don't remember the pasuk, but there is a source in the Torah, inside the Torah itself. The Torah gave permission, conceptually, generally, the Torah gave permission to Dayanim to act as they wish, as they, how to say, as they deem fit, yeah? As they deem fit in certain cases. It's embedded in halacha. And the source is inside the Torah. Yeah? Just like we know the Rabbanon. How can Rabbanon invent all these new inventions? Because it says, Shal v'cha v'yagedcha, there are sources in the Torah, you have to listen to Chachamim. Yeah? Okay? That's the reason. Okay. I was thinking about that too. He has to rent. Oh, so that we didn't see that. Pay for what he. That's more of a groma. That's more of a groma. Why don't you pay him for the time that he lost? First of all, could be the could. If you're a Dayan, if you open a Beth Din tomorrow, maybe you can do that too. And I forget, it's a bigger chiddush what the Gemara says. What he gained is more of a knas. We wanted to hurt him in his pocket by his gain. So he shouldn't do it again. In other words, could be that the other guy, that the victim, didn't lose as much as he gained. You gained from Gneva, you have to pay for what you gained. Is more, I think it's more of a direct punishment. So you should realize you're not gaining from stealing. It's also a lesson for everybody else. I think so. But I hear your point too. Says the Heilige Mishnah. Our Mishnah, yeah, you have it? Yeah, you're with us? Yeah. The Mishnah in Tzadivav base. Says the Mishnah. Gozal, we're going to have a few cases of Shinui, and also we're going to talk about, unbelievable, chametz shavar of Pesach. Isn't Hashem guiding us through the Gemara? Oh, chametz shavar of Pesach. Says the Mishnah. Gozal be'em v'izkina. A person stole an animal, let's say a cow that you can plow your field with, and his kina, now the cow got older. When we say older, you know that half a second ago I was younger than now, right? You see the white beard? But his kina doesn't mean half a second older or a year older. He means older, significantly older, and therefore less functional. He's not as functional, not as what? Weaker as a result of old age. We're going to talk about weak also later. It's weaker because it's older. Gozo be'emev v'izkina can't play, soccer as much as nicely as it did before. Avodim v'izkinu, also avodim, slaves, and they got older. Shalom kishasek zela. He has to pay as according to the value that they were worth at the time of the gzela. He stole a 20 years old Eved, and now he is 50. Now I'm 51. I can attest I'm not an Eved, Baruch Hashem, but not as young as when you're 20. And therefore what? Now what does he have to pay? Let's say the 20 years old is worth, I don't know, $1 million, and the 50 years old is worth $500,000. He has to pay $1 million. What happens to the Eved? Stays by him. The old Eved, his black hair is becoming white. Now you keep the Eved, which is older and weaker. And what you stole originally, the value of what you stole, the entire $1 million, of a 20 years old, that you have to pay to the original one. What do they do if they steal a football player, a soccer player from the team? Though they're worth 20 million, that's a big thing. So now, Mishal Kishas Exela. Rabbi Meir Oimer. Rabbi Meir comes now with the concept which we saw before. Rabbi Meir argues on half the case. One of the two cases Rabbi Meir argues. Ba'avodim Oimer lo harei shelcha lefonecha. Rabbi Meir says no. When it comes to behema, I agree with Chachamim that you keep the behema and you pay like the older, higher price. But avodim are like what in halacha? Karka, yoo-hoo. 10 points. Avodim amar lo eshel chalafonecha. Since an eved is like karka, in halacha it's exercise of yes, nachatim oisel b'mechem achrechem avodim ala karka. Even an eved can run around and hopefully does move around, but an eved is like a karka. Just like karka, piece of land cannot halachically be stolen because the karka stays in its place. Yeah, even if somebody squats there, it's not gzela as physically being taken away. Therefore, an eved like a karka was keilu never stolen. And that 20 years old, robust, diligent eved, which was stolen, is now 50. It's keilu never stolen. Mimela, the change, listen to me, didn't occur in the house of the Ganev. It's keilu, the change happened in the house of the victim. And Mimela, he tells him, take the 50 years old with whiter hair and go jump in the lake. By the way, I saw in one of the Mishnah, with the parish of the Mishnah, he says Chachami would obviously agree that by karka, there would definitely be case lekula alma. If you talk about a real piece of land, karka, karka, somebody stole karka, he sat there and he forced everybody else out. So now he has to pay back. It came time that he paid back because the police forced him, Beth Din. What does he have to pay? Hareshel chalafanecha. Whether the karka is worth less, even if the karka is worth less, shel chalafanecha, because the change didn't happen by me, it happened by you. Second set of cases. Gozal matbea v'nisdak. Nasdaq. You know Nasdaq? That's matbea here. It's makor in the Torah. Gozal matbea v'nasdaq. Nasdaq is in the... Yeah. Gozal... Yes. Gozal matbea. Somebody stole a coin and Nisdak, it's cracked. Yeah, it's splintered. Yeah, it's now broken. I did that on our Pesach. You had to do it. You have to take your fruta chamura and break it. Deface it. You have to break it because fruta chamura, the shmita is after the third year. Gozal matbea v'nisdak. Somebody stole a matbea. Now the matbea is cracked, is defaced, is physically just not the same. Derois verkivu. Those pears that he stole, the fruit, are now rotten. Yeah, they decomposed, they're rotten, they're seriously rotten. How rotten is rotten, the Gemara is going to talk about. Yain behichmitz, he stole wine, and in his possession of the Ganev, it's soured. Mishalem kishasek zela, he has to pay l'kishasek zela. Obviously, why? Keep the bad fruit, the bad wine to yourself, Mr. Ganev, because it's a change which is not reversible. And then you pay the original high price of the expensive wine, of the good wine that you stole. Matbea ve'nifsal. What happened? And here comes the whole new concept, which is not so new for you, and that is hezek she'enoi nikal. Let's say there's a change which is an invisible change, which means the item is the same item as before, but there is an exterior reason why the item is now useless. Matbea ve'nifsal. There was a coin, and that coin went out of circulation. He stole, before the year 2000, he stole many marks or drachmas or liretas or escudos. There were many different coins and currencies in Europe before 2000. And when it did to return it? 2010. There are no such coins anymore, only euro. Right? So he wants to give back the marks, the German marks, 10 years later. Yeah, it's not worth anymore. Anything. They look very nice and shiny. He even shined them, he polished them, but they're not worth anything at all. Truma v'nitmes, another case. Truma, he stole a truma from Mr. Cohen. Now that truma, nitmes, what does it mean? Somebody, not even him, nitmes, somebody touched it and it was tmeh something. Tome, now the truma is tome. Nobody can use truma tmea, meaning you can burn it. and use the fire, but you can't really eat it. Chametz v'avolava Pesach, guys, look at that. Chametz, he stole chametz. He stole a jar of cookies before the holiday of Passover. Did not sell it to a goy. Now he wants to give it back to him after Pesach. Now, can you eat chametz v'avolava Pesach? No. So now chametz v'avolava Pesach. Behema v'nisavdaba avera. He stole an animal, and somebody sinned with the animal. Let's say somebody had relations, bestiality with the animal. Yeah. Now that animal can be used for human beings as long as there are no two edim. You don't have two edim that know that behemoth had relations with the person, because if there are two edim that was relations between the man and the beast, then you kill both the man and the beast, because it's a busha for the man. That's a behemoth tarogum, first in the Torah. But let's say there's only one aid, and I know that the animal had relations with someone. So now Lamaisa can use the animal. I can use the animal. Why can I use the animal? Because Lamaisa, there are no aidim that this animal, nobody's going to kill the animal. It's not going to be executed. But for the korban, you cannot use it. For korban, you can't use it. Yeah? For korban, it's possible. If I know that the Afghanistani guy next door had relations with a goat, yeah, then that goat is possible mizbeach. So somebody stole the animal, somebody had relations with the animal. Now that animal can be used, but cannot be used from mizbeach. Yeah, it's only disqualified from mizbeach. Oy shenifsul amagabe mizbeach. Nifsul amagabe mizbeach says Rashi mum. Let's say there's some kind of blemish in the animal, which means that a human being can use it for regular secular consumption because it's an animal that's balmum but not treifa. Let's say it has something in the eye. It has some eye issue, so it cannot be brought on the mizbeach. Or maybe now that animal killed someone, like shor nogach that killed, and now you're going to kill the animal. Which means in all the entire list of chametz of Pesach, or the German mark that is not worth anything after the euro, all these things, the change is not significant. It's not visible. It's an invisible change. The coin looks exactly the same. You show it to a child, he says that's a very nice coin. He's not aware that today there's euro and no marks. Or Truma Shenitmes, you show it to Tim McKenzie, Truma Shenitmes, he says these look like very nice grapes to me. There's no knowledge of Tuma unless you're aware of what he means. So all these cases of Hezek Shenanika, that's a big chiddush. The Gazlan can take it back to the owner and say Reshel Chalafanef. Wow. Why? Because it's a Shina She'eno Nika. It's a Bechloikas in Gittin, the entire sugi over there. Here we seem to be supporting the opinion that says that Hezek Shenanika is not considered as Nezek, and you can just give it back as it is, including Chomet Shovel of Pesach. I stole, I'm sorry, it's back to you. Pesach came, it's not my fault. It's not my fault that Pesach came in the middle and trafed up your cookies by just being Pesach. Now, regarding the animal, for the korban, that's a different story. The animal with the korban could be, yes, a visible change. For example, if the animal had relations, that's not visible. The animal looks the same before and after. But she'enken, when you talk about an animal, says Rashi, that has a blemish, even if the blemish is visible, you still don't have to pay extra compensation. You can give back the animal to the original owner. Why? Because the only nezik that was caused here is the fact that you cannot bring it to the mizbeach. Not to be able to bring to the mizbeach is not significant enough of a nezik, because most animals are not meant for mizbeach. When a person has animals running around his backyard or in his ranch, in his farm, most of them are not for mizbeach. So just because in the hands of the Ganav, now I'm not saying the Ganav caused the move, that would be a different story of Mazi. But if it happened to be that in the domain of the Ganav, there was a small change which disqualifies it from mizbeach, that's not called a shinui that is so significant that he is demanding extra demands. No, take it as it is and don't use it for mizbeach. You can use it for your next steak or for plowing your field. Yes.
So somebody stole a car.
Weiter.
Oh, and I know that one could play around with it.
Don't teach us the tricks of the trade. Says the Gemara. Amar of Pope. Says Rav Pope regarding the animal or the slave that got older. Lo izkina izkina mamish. When we say older, we don't mean to say that it's older in age. Ela afilu kochsho, even if it got weaker and thinner. Oh, in other words, the change is not as significant. Let's say the animal or the slave are not older with white hair. Like a child will paint, draw a young man versus an old man. Even if it's less significant, but it's clear that now the slave was a bit like the car. The slave was now enslaved seriously, and now is much weaker. And even though it's 2 years older, some people after 2 years they look like 20 years older, right? They worked so hard. So even if it's kochash, you also have to pay the extra, even though the kachash, the being thinner, weaker, is not as visible and significant, says Rashi. Back the Gemara, that's very nice. The anan is kinatnan, but our Mishnah said he's kina. Our Mishnah said older, mashma. It has to be visibly older, white hair. I don't know, stooped back. Who says that just weaker is enough of a change? You see what I'm saying? Yeah, that's a word. How significant? How visible is it? And says the Gemara, kachsha kigon is kina. It's not a stira. When we say that weaker is also called a change, it's a kind of weakness which is similar, which is tantamount to izkina. The loy hodar bori, which means that's the name of the game. It can never go back to being the same before. Which means, let's say the person stole a slave 20 years old. When he's now 22 and is a weaker stage, he didn't treat him nicely, didn't feed him nicely. At the age of 22, he's significantly weaker. If he's weaker, which is similar to older, which means it's not revocable, not reversible. You go to all the doctors and say, no, that's it. He got so much weaker, he can't get better. Loy hodar bo, he cannot go back to be healthy anymore. Then we say that's a change. You keep the bad slave to yourself and you pay the expensive price, the high price of before. But she'enken, if the weakness was less significant and he's now reversible, give him some good food, good diet, yoga, kinesiology, I don't know what you do to him. You give him better treatment. Then what? Send him to the spa for a day. He'll feel better, be back to his old, back on his feet. Then you don't have to pay the extra. You say, Haresh al Cholfnecha, take the evidence as it is, because the change is reversible. So you can just give him back as is and say goodbye. Amarle, Makshisha Baido of Chizdal Ravashi. Achikam, Makshisha Baido of Chizda told Ravashi the following. Achikam Mishmed Rabbi Yochanan. This is what we learn on behalf of Rabbi Yochanan, which is a statement which we saw before the Mishnah. A filagon of Tol of Nasa Ayil, even if he stole a Taleh, the kid, and he became an Ayil, a ram, older, Egel Nasa Show, the calf became an ox, Nasa Shinu Beyondoi, Veknoi. Now the Shinui happened in the hands of the Ganav, the change happened by him. Now he acquired it, and therefore if he now shechted it or sold it, Shalom Tovech, Shalom Moicher, he sells his own thing. It's as if he sold or shechted his own thing, and therefore he doesn't have to pay the 4 or 5 extra, 4 for the sheep and 5 for the bull. Doesn't apply to him. Why? Because it's his thing now. Now you may ask the question. We just saw that a few minutes ago. Why is the Gemara repeating it? Spot the differences. Omar lei, he told him. Ravashi told him. Lav aminalach. Didn't I tell you before? He's rebuking him. Didn't I tell you? Loi tachlif gavri. Don't change the Amoraim. Don't change the names of the Amoraim. Ahu, that statement which you so nicely quoted, Ishmed Rabbi Lo Itmar. This is not a statement of Rabbi Yochanan, it's a statement of Rabbi Lo. Why is the Gemara telling us this? We have an Amoira talking to the other one, and then the other Amoira says, hey, you got the names wrong. You say very nice, you make a very nice statement, and it's true, but instead of you quoting the wrong person, you allege that statement to the wrong guy. He was not Rabbi Yochanan, he was Rabbi Lo. I think Rashba, what's this more all about? I think it's either the Rashba or the Meir. Listen to this. They say the Gemara inserted this piece so we should realize how exact and precise and well taken care of is the Messiah. You see how the Amoraim were so makpid, were so particular on mentioning the right name. You don't just say someone, they mention the particular name If it's not Rabbi Law, it's not Rabbi Law. Well, it was Rabbi Law. If it's not Rabbi Yochanan, it's wrong. You should say everything on behalf of the right person, so the Masorah goes down very clearly. This is the Masorah that we, Baruch Hashem, we have the privilege to have. Rabbi Meir Omer. Now we quote the Mishnah in which Rabbi Meir argued, the piece of the Mishnah where Rabbi Meir argues with Chachomim. Rabbi Meir Omer, Ba'avodim Omer lo rei shelcho lefonecho. Rabbi Meir says when it comes to slaves, you say Harei shelcho lefonecho. Let's review for a second, because this is going to be our issue from now till the end of the Amud. Basically, what did Tanna Kama say? Tanna Kama said that if I stole A, an animal, B, a slave, yeah, then what? Got older, weaker, white hair, or not even white hair, but significantly weaker to a point of no return. What do you say? You say, keep the old cranky guy that you have, the older guy, and pay the original million that you stole from me when he was young and robust. Yeah, okay. Comes Rabbi Meir and argues on one case out of the two. Which case? Avodim. Says Rabbi Meir, I think avodim are completely lekarka. Not only in theory when it comes to kinyonim, they're completely lekarka for all intents and purposes. And therefore, says Rabbi Meir, if by avodim, even the Eved got older, you say harei shelcho lefanecho. Because we say Rabbi Meir believes avodim harem kekarkois. An Eved is like a piece of land. It's as if he was never really stolen and changed in the hands of the Ganav. And therefore, what do you say? Take him as it is. Take him with the white hair and stooped back, and that's what I can offer you, and goodbye. So says Rabbi Meir, arguing in Chachomim. Okay, so far so good. Amar Rav Chanina bar Avdimi, Amar Rav. Remember, we're quoting Rav over here. What did Rav say? Halacha ki Rabbi Meir. Rav says, I vote for Rabbi Meir. I think halacha is like Rabbi Meir. When it comes to avodim, then avodim are like karka, and therefore you give back the Eved as he is now and go home with no, paying the original amount. And Rav supports Rabbi Meir. That we just opened a big Pandora's box. Why? The Rav, question number one. The Rav Shavik Rabbanon Vovid Rabbi Meir. First of all, since when does Rav leave Rabbanon and follow Rabbi Meir? What's Avid does? Since when does he do like Rabbi Meir? Since when does he follow Rabbi Meir? For two reasons. First of all, Rabbi Meir is a minority. Since when does Rav follow minority? Usually, Yochid v'Rabim, Aloch Rabim. And you're following one single opinion. You're following the minority. Why? Why is that? And also explains you see, I myself, I'm not behaving nicely. I'm not quoting the right person, not like the Ameroim. Yeah, I don't remember if it's the Rashba or the Meiri. They say that sometimes you could pass like the minority, but Rav was a Talmid of Rebbe. Rebbe, we know, was the master of the Mishnah. And if Rebbe quotes Rabbi Meir as a single person, as opposed to the mainstream opinion, Rebbe is already embedding in it that he does not believe in Rabbi Meir. Rav supposed to be loyal to his Rebbe, which was Rebbe. His Rebbe was Rebbe, Rabbi Yehuda Anossi. So Rav is now switching sides. He's going now with Rabbi Meir, which was, in this case at least, he's not la halacha, because Rebbe is alluding to the fact that Rabbi Meir is not la halacha. Why are you following Rabbi Meir? Rav, what happened to you? Amri. So now we are trying to answer. Mishum de Braisa ipcha Tanya. Okay, because there's a Braisa. There is a Braisa, which we don't know, we're not quoting right now. There's a Braisa that tells us just the opposite. Flipping it. The Braisa says, just the opposite. The Braisa says that you know who is the one who said that avodim like a karka? Rabbanan. So when Rav said avodim like a karka, like Rabbi Meir, he really followed Rabbanon, because Rav followed the Braisa, and in the Braisa, the majority, the winning side, the winning horse, are the ones who say avodim like a karka. They followed the Braisa, and by the Braisa, majority rules also, and there the majority said what in the Mishnah was said by the minority. The Braisa was said by the majority. They followed the Braisa. Frank the Gemara, oh no, you're getting even worse. The Rav Shovik Masnisin Bovid Kebraisa. I was taught when I was 10 years old, I used to be a cute kid, and they taught us Mishnah and Braisa. Mishnah is more than a Braisa, and that's a question of the Gemara. Rav Shovik, what Shovik? Leave. What does Rav leave alone? Leave aside. The Mishnah follows the Braisa? Yeah, how's that? you're following a brisa against the Mishnah. That's even worse. Answers the Gemara. Rav Masnisi Nami Ipchatani. No. According to Rav's version in the Mishnah, Rav changed over the Mishnah. And in this stage, we think that Rav actually took the Mishnah and said, this Mishnah cannot be true. I have a brisa. The brisa says that the majority, Rabbanon, they're the ones who say that avodim like the karka. The Mishnah must be wrong. And my version of the Mishnah is unlike my Rebbe. And I think that this Mishnah should be changed and say what? That Rabbanon, Chachamim, the majority are the ones who say avodim karka. More, are you serious? For my time at the Rav, or there's another gear, so even stronger. Second, it says, Umay duchke, yeah. My duchke, what was your doichak? What caused you? Why were you pushed into a corner? The Rav, the apich mesnisim mekamed de braisa. When Rav has a brisa, the Mishnah in front of him, and the Mishnah says the opposite of the brisa, and Rav wants to make everything homogenic and equal and all the same, he's changing the Mishnah because of a brisa? The brisa is the one who's right, and the Mishnah must be wrong. You have to change the word of the Mishnah. Adarabah, on the contrary. It always works the other way. When you have a Mishnah and a brisa that are not exactly clear because one contradicts the other, Mishnah is the ruler. Mishnah is the one who can, with the arm wrestling, the Mishnah is stronger than the brisa. And Rav seems to be saying the other way. Rav seems to be breaking all the rules over here. Amri, and this is the final answer, one answer out of two. Rav nami masnisen ibcha atnei. Rav didn't play these games of arm wrestling. You know what Rav learned? From his Rebbe, Rabboisov. Rav, when he was 10 years old, or when he was 15 years old, when he started learning Gemara by his Rabbeim, which I guess then was not Rebbe, his version in the Mishnah was the opposite of the version that we have. In other words, Rav's version in the Mishnah all along was, his Gilsa was, that Chachamim are the ones who say, Avodim Elokei Karka. Not that he saw the brisa in the Mishnah and he said, oh, the Mishnah must be wrong. No. Pashut, his Mishnah, when he was taught the Mishnah, in his gears in the Mishnah, the winning team of the majority of non-Rabbi Meir, they're the ones who said that Avodim are like a karka. Okay? Say there? So that's Pashut. Rav had a different girsa all along. His girsa was that Chachamim, majority, are the ones who say that the Mishnah is, the majority of the Mishnah, the Chachamim say, Eved is like a karka, and therefore the change is not a change. You just give back the Eved as he is. Okay. Another answer. Yeah, question? Summarized very well, better than me. Very good. Another answer, Boy Sema. By the way, the line starts with the word Boy Sema, or a few lines before the end of the page. Boy Sema. Another alternative teretz to explain why is it the Rav seems to be following the brisa and not the Mishnah. So we said he had a different girsa in the Mishnah. Now we have another answer. Kiloi apich, you originally thought that Rav changed the words of the Mishnah because he had the brisa in his Masorah. He said the Mishnah must be wrong. And that made us jump out of our skin and said, you can't change the Mishnah because of a brisa. Says the Gemara, you're right, but you're not always right. Kiloi apich chada mikami chada. It's like lahavdil, again, when you have one Mishnah against one brisa, who is the winner? The Mishnah. If you see two different stories, Mishnah, brisa contradicting each other, the Mishnah is the winner. One against one, the quality is the Mishnah, which was quoted, which was redacted by Rebbe. But when you have one Mishnah that is contradicting two brises, then the brises win over. Wow. If you have two brises that talk, so to speak, against the Mishnah, then the brises are correct, because it's two against one. And therefore, we're going to show now another brisa, an additional brisa that's going to join the brisa team, and that brisa also will show you that the ones who believe Ebed is like a karka are Rabbanon, the winning, the majority, and not Rabbi Meir. And that made Rav say that really avodim are completely like a karka because it's really Rabbanon, Chachamim who say it, and not Rabbi Meir. The Mishnah says otherwise. No. Go home, Mishnah. We have two brises against you. What is, or which is the brisa that tells us that that Chachamim believe Eved Kikarka? The Tanya, look at the following brisa. Brisa, not a Mishnah, but two brises, power in numbers. Let's say a person, to be there, Balabatish, I would translate to English, what's lachlif? To switch. But it's more than switching a cow for a chamor. Bartering, yes, but I want to stress something here. It's not a regular barter deal. It's one of the over 20 kinyonim that we have in halacha called kinyan chalipin. Yeah, kinyan chalipin means that if the person, let's say, machlif po b'chamo, a person wants to switch to barter a cow. Let's say the cow was pregnant. He has a pregnant cow when he wants to switch it for a donkey. Okay, let's say the chamor. There was, how do you acquire a chamor in halacha? When was the last time you bought a donkey? Very nice, Mashiach, right? Every day when we buy a chamor in the market. So then a chamor that you, once you did Mashiach to the chamor, and it was agreed upon, originally, it was verbally agreed upon that it will be what you call a barter. Then once Shimon pulled the chamor to his daladamis, to his chotzer, simta, then what? The cow automatically becomes the other guys. Yeah. In other words, one side kinyan is good enough if we know. Oh. So now let's say I'm the owner of the cow. Now the cow is in my house, and you know what? There are no CCTVs, and nobody knows when the cow gave birth. I don't know if the cow gave birth when it was still owned by me, or when it was owned by my buyer called Shimon, even though my name is not Reuven, but my buyer is Shimon. So now there's an argument. We know that the barter deal was done in a different place, in a donkey market 5 kilometers away. We were all there with our families. It was a big event. Nobody was by the farm when it gave birth, maybe a worker which you can't rely on. And I don't know if the cow gave birth before or after the acquisition, the kinyan, which means we don't know whether the babyle, azisa le babyle, mazel tov, I don't know if the newborn calf belongs to the original owner or the new owner. Let's say they didn't discuss it. Yeah, whoever wins, whoever is the owner, gave birth in his reshus. So there you are. Boom, you're stuck. We don't know who owns the new baby. Was it born before or after the kinyan? A person sold his shifcha, evet knaini, with money, evet knaini. Yeah, nobody's there. The shifcha is in a hospital giving birth, and I'm here in a nice lawyer's office buying the shifcha with money, yeah, with actual cash, passing cash through the hands. And I don't know if the shifcha gave birth when he was still the original owner or the new owner. Same question. Well, surprisingly, very interestingly, now, originally I would say each one says it's mine, it's mine, it's mine, it's mine, it's mine. But there are different cases. Case number one. If one person says very assertively, I know there was baby, I know that it gave birth when it belonged to me. I found out. I have my cameras. I have the avodim. I have people. I made my homework and the whole thing. And I asked the doctor, and I found out that when the baby was born, it was under my authority. Yeah, under my ownership. The other one guy says, I don't know, maybe right, maybe wrong. He keeps quiet. Zochobo, the one who's bori v'shema, bori odif. The one who's certain versus somebody who's uncertain, the certain guy is zoiche. Case number two. Both of them say, we don't know. We don't know what to do. Both of them say, I'd like to be the owner, but I don't have a proof for that. I don't really know that it was born under me. So then they split it. They're both, yeah, we're not going now to all the lomdus over here. It's the end of the shiur, but Lamaisa, nobody has chazaka more than the other. Yeah, because we know there was a change. Don't tell me Motzim Chavero here, because we know there was a change. The question is, when did the change occur? You get me? In other words, you can't say it should stay by the original guy. Why? Because we know there was a change. You can also have Motzim Chaveroi if I don't know there was a change. Here, I know there was a change. The question is when. So they have to split it. The more common case, each one comes with 5 lawyers and 10 to Rabboni. Each one claims he knows very well, he was under me, he was by me, that the animal was born. Who has to take the shvuah? Yeah, they're both standing here, each one digging his feet into the ground. So one of them should take the shvuah. Which one should make the shvuah? Because hopefully, if somebody here is lying or really not so sure of himself, a shvuah would be a good deterrent. Because a person may lie, but not so easily nishba l'sheker. To take a shvuah, false shvuah, is a very, very terrible avera. To say somebody here should take shvuah. Who should be the one to take the shvuah? A moicher, the seller, should swear should be shuso yoldo. He should take a shvuah that the animal or lahavdil l'shifcha is the one who gave birth and he is under his authority, ownership. Why? Why should he be the one that's nishba? A shvuah, this is a rule you should know, and I think you do know. In most cases, at least in the Torah, a shvuah is not there to take money. A shvuah doesn't get me to take money out of someone else. A shvuah gets me to keep money and keep things as they are. Yeah, let's say I tied on you that before Pesach I gave you my silver candlesticks and you stole them. You nishba and you keep things as they are. Yeah, you don't have to give me money for the candlesticks. You keep things as they are. You keep things at peace, at bay. Let sleeping dogs lie with a shvuah. So since Lamaisa physically, the animal, where is the baby now physically? In the house of the moicher, of course. The question is, shall the moicher give the new baby to the new owner together with the mother? So to keep things as they are with no change, that's the purpose of shvuah. There's a pasuk. It says "Velokach be'olav velo yeshalem." Yeah, it's about the shoymrim. The shoymer is nishba. Keep things as they are. Okay. Says Hu Rabbi Meir. So far, so good. What does that have to do with the price of our Gemara? Now you're going to see. Rabbi Meir is the one who says you have to be nishba for what? For a behema, and for what else? For an eved. Says Rabbi Meir, there's an issue about a little eved, a day old eved. You have to be nishba, says Rabbi Meir. Listen to this. Here comes the crescendo. The Chachamim oimrim ein nishboin lo la'avodim v'lo la'kokois. Chachamim say no. Nobody should take a shvuah over the eved because eved is like karka. Oh, you got it. Chachamim are the ones who say an eved formula. Eved equals karka, and there's a gzer sekosov that tells me. When it comes to karka, you don't take shvuah. When there are issues about karka, theft, stories, kinyonim, you don't make shvuah over karka. And since eved is like a karka, you don't. In the case of behema, we agree with you, Rabbi Meir. In the case of eved, no, eved is like a karka. Look what happened. We switch sides again. This Bryce is telling me black and white that who are the ones who say that the vodim are mamish lekarka, you don't take shvuah? Rabbanon. That's the second Bryce. We have 2 brises that tell us that the ones who believe that everything is exactly like karka lachikli are Rabbanan and not Rabbi Meir. Very good. I have a Mishnah. I'm so sorry. The king has lost his crown. Usually a Mishnah is more choshev than a brisa, but 2 brises against 1, the brises win. We're learning a lot of big yesodis here of the mechanisms of Gemara and how halacha is was developed. One more question and answer before the end. Correct the Gemara. Okay, that's all. I gave up. I gave in. That's it. Okay. Now we understand why Rav follows the opinion that says that avodim like a karka, which is really whose opinion according to the 2 brises? Chachamim, like you said yourself. Chachamim, we follow the majority like a good boy. Correct the Gemara. Excuse me. Second to last line. Why did? If so, if you remember the very, very original statement of Rav at the beginning of this maze, of this labyrinth, was Rav said, Halacha, avodim kekarkos, like Rabbi Meir. You just proved to me, that the ones who say avodim kekarka are Rabbanon. So, hi, halacha Rabbi Meir, halacha Rabbanon. So Rav should speak out what he said, what he meant, and he should have said halacha k'rabbanon avodim k'kokois. Answers the Gemara, the same old answer we saw many times. Achika Omar. This is what Rav meant. Lemaida pchisu betnisu halacha k'Rabbi Meir. I really think that the opinion that says the truth, that says that avodim k'kokois is the opinion of Rabbanon. But you guys have a twisted Mishnah. The Mishnah that we have here in our Gemara, according to Rav, is the wrong version. I'm being very nice and democratic and pluralistic, and I talk your own language. Because I talk in your language, and I say, according to you people, you twisted the Mishnah, and you are telling me that Rabbi Meir is the one who holds of what? Of Avadim Kekarka. I talk your language, and I say, Halacha ke Rabbi Meir, that Avadim Kekarka. But really, inside his heart, you know what Rav thinks? That Halacha like Chachanim, that Avadim Kekarka. Halacha l'maisa avodim is like a karka, as far as I know, and we follow Rav and we follow Chachami. Beautiful, as far as I know. We'll see the halacha in Hashem tomorrow. I hope. Very good. Shkoyach, thank you very much. It was really, really, really nice to come back to our beautiful shiur with Megud Chaverim.